unstoppable, 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 unstoppable.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unstoppable and Unstoppable Women's Podcast. I have here today Jason Day. He is a local entrepreneur from Murfreesboro. He owns two businesses called the Red Bicycle in the Murfreesboro area. And we're going to interview him and ask him some questions about how he got started, a little bit about his history, and what it meant to take a risk to get started in this successful business. If you're not familiar with Red Bicycle, you're going to find out about it today. It's one of my favorite coffee shops to take clients to in Murfreesboro. I personally prefer, Jason, the Cuban. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
The staff is friendly. So we're going to kind of dig in here. Jason, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Yes. Well, I love to dig in with people getting to know you. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to be where you're at today, basically?
Sure. Well, I'll do the Cliff Note version because
Yes.
I don't think anyone's interested in the long version. But I was born and raised in Chicago, north suburb of Chicago. And then my parents retired and we moved out to Arizona. I went to school out in Arizona. And then I ended up in San Diego. My oldest brother is a physician out in San Diego. And I got, I worked in healthcare for the last 12 years in San Diego. I was working at a skilled nursing facility doing the business development for that. So that was more the business side of the healthcare industry. And what led me out to here, I knew inherently that I was not going to stay in California. And I knew that I didn't want to do that for the next 10, 15 years. You know, when you're working in healthcare, you know, you're talking end of life, it's pretty depressive, depressing stuff every day. And it's heavy. And I knew I didn't want to do that. And I'd been saving money. I didn't know what I was really saving it for. I just knew that I wanted to do something else. My buddy Luke had moved out here about 6-7 years ago. So I'd been coming out to Nashville to visit him. And I really love Tennessee. It kind of reminded me of where I grew up. I grew up, like I said, in the north suburbs of Chicago. So kind of a small town with a big city close by. In this part of the country, it just felt more at home than I felt in California. So Tennessee kind of became on my radar as like where I would go if I win and if I do move to California. And so, long story somewhat short, I as I would come out and visit Luke, I met Dave, and David Tread is he owned the Red Bicycle in Germantown in Nashville.
Right.
And we had just got to talking about taking that outside of Nashville, and I said I would do it provided because I liked what he had there. I just knew I could kind of do my own spin on it and probably add my own, my own flair to it, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And so we got to talking about taking it out, and then I said I would license the name, provided I could have full control of it, and make it my own. So I didn't want to have any, franchise or anything like that. I wanted to make sure it was uniquely mine, in terms of menu and all those things. And so we came to an agreement, and I packed up. I quit my job in San Diego that I'd worked at for 11 some odd years, and then packed up the car, moved out here, and put every penny I had into building that first location there on St. Andrews. And here we are.
Wow, that's awesome. And that was just such a leap of faith. I mean, what made you, just from my point of view, this is what I want to know. I think viewers want to know that too. What made you have that leap of faith when you said you put every penny that you had? That is a huge investment in yourself.
Yeah, it's Megan. It's funny. I kind of had this epiphany. I was like I said, I was in a job that I didn't like. It paid well. It was a good job, but I had no passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to live my life like that anymore. I inherently like to make people happy. It's my favorite thing to do. Yeah. And I thought for lack of a better term, my calling wasn't that.
Right.
And I thought, I want to go build a place that makes people smile, that makes people happy, that, we can give a good product. More importantly, we can give a good service and a good experience. I want people to leave that place happier than they are when they got there. Mm-hmm. And that was my whole vision. And if you've ever been to the two stores, you know that we do some funny stuff in terms of, the characters and all the stuff we do there and the music videos. We want it to be a fun environment in there, and that's what I built it to be. And so I just wanted to do that. I thought if I'm going to take the next, at the time, not married, I didn't have kids. And I thought if I'm going to ever do this and take your shot,
Yeah.
and at some point in your life, you want to take that shot.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get to the end of my life and be like, you never did it. You talked about it, but you never actually did it.
I love that.
And I thought, do it now. And if it fails, it fails. But at least then you did it. And I felt confident enough in my intelligence and my work ethic where I thought, even if I lose it, it's money. I'll work hard and I'll try to get it back. But I wanted to take that shot. And so I did. I took all the money I had saved. I moved out here. By the time we started building it, what I didn't anticipate is when I got to Murfreesboro, Murfreesboro is growing so fast, as everyone knows, and even a couple 3 years ago when I started this process, contractors were overbidding on the build out because they were so busy that they didn't really care if they got the job or not. And so I started panicking a little bit because I couldn't find a contractor to do it, to just build it out, because it was relatively small project, building out a little restaurant in a strip mall here in the St. Andrews Center. But I finally found one. But then it went well over budget, well over time, and I had kind of this pot of money. I didn't have an income because I quit my job, so every day I'm spending money, and every day you're spending kind of quite a bit of it. So to the point where we opened November 19th, 2019, and I was broke the day we opened. I spent every penny I had. So when I say it was an all-in proposition, it was certainly an all-in proposition. And then even when we opened, the Department of Health signed off on it, and I wasn't really ready to open. The kitchen wasn't done yet, but we opened just doing coffee, just so I could see some deposits going in the bank account. I needed to see, for my own mental, for my own mental stability. I had to start seeing that. Yeah. So we did coffee for the first couple of days, and I had been marketing it. My background was in marketing, so I had been marketing the store for quite some time prior to that. So I built up a pretty decent social media following as I was leading up to this. And so luckily we had a good turnout when we opened. And then that weekend we started doing like a limited menu and that kind of stuff. And we got going, and then of course 4 months into it, COVID hit. So didn't see that coming. But to answer your first question, it was twofold. I wanted to take that swing, and to be honest with you, I wanted to see what I was made of. Yeah. I had a lot of people. Like I said, I worked in healthcare. My brother was a physician at the hospital that I worked with primarily, and I love my brother to death. He's my favorite person in the world. But I was always Dr. Day's brother, and I wanted to go do something for myself. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see what I was capable of doing, and I wanted to do that in the form of making people happy. And I thought this was the opportunity to do that. I thought this was the path that was to do it, and that's what led me out here, and that's what led me to take that chance.
Well, we're so glad you came. I'm telling you, you can walk into your store, and I can personally attest for this, everyone, because I've been there several times. I go to the one on the square. I haven't ventured out to St. Andrews one. I need to go out there and see that one. But it's just such a positive environment when you walk in. There is people smiling. You did exactly what you wanted to do. I'm a marketing mindset. Like, I eat up marketing. I'm a geek at it, right? I just love it. So I noticed when you started, your workers handed me the first card when I first went in there. I think I got a free drink because it was Santa Claus that day.
Right.
You have like a special character, and they put you at the table to bring your food out. Every little detail that you guys have from your customer service, the whole experience is an awesome experience. So you have definitely created that, what you envision in your head.
Well,
so
that means a lot to me. I told the staff from day one, I said, I think the people will come initially. They'll come and they'll come for the coffee, and they'll come for the food, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure the coffee and the food is great. But the variable we can really control is the experience we give them. Yeah. And I'm a big believer in that. I think, a small compliment in the middle, and when you get your coffee on a Monday, it can kind of set your whole day up.
You can.
And it's so little, it's just little stuff like that. And so you have to find the right people to do that. And so my biggest thing in the beginning was, obviously at St. Andrews, I ran it when I opened it. And so I was there all the time. So I could kind of control the environment a little bit. And as I've now built two of them, and now I've kind of had to step back from the day-to-day stuff, it's more imperative that I find people who can run it every day that share that same mindset, which is just you're going to feel a positive vibe every time you walk into either of those stores, and that's the biggest thing to me. And like I said, we work really hard. The cooks work so hard on the food, and our partnership with Stay Golden and Good Citizen out in Nashville for the coffee. Their coffee is amazing, and everything we do there, we work really hard at. But the service is really what separates us, and I think the uniqueness of the like I said, the silly stuff that I do in terms of the table characters,
Right.
and just little stuff like that. Instead of putting a number 2 on your table, you might have a picture of David Hasselhoff sitting on your table.
It's awesome.
And just little dumb stuff like that, because it's hard to be in a bad mood when you look up and you're waiting for your food and you see a shirtless David Hasselhoff on your table. So I just little stuff like that. I want it to be happy, and I want the staff to be happy. I want them to have a good experience, because I feel like if I have a happy staff and they're enjoying being there, the customers are going to enjoy it, and it all kind of works together. So my focus has always been on really fostering an environment for the staff, which I think will then lead to the customers enjoying it. So you saying that really means a lot to me, because that's exactly what we're always going for.
Well, it's nothing but facts there. So you're very welcome. But yeah, I've loved the part that you said that those days, you gave us a really good glimpse in what it's like to be a business owner. A lot of people say, oh, it's, they see the success on now that you have, but then those days where you're investing your last dime. And there's days that you probably were like, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision?
Well, yeah. And so it's funny. So it's so it's funny you say that. I was just talking about that with my friend the other night. I said, people see it now and what a good life. And it's like, well, I was physically like affected by this. So like when it opened, I was working, 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. every night with no money, and I still owed people. When we opened, I still owed the contractor money. I still owed, and I didn't have it. And so you're stressed about that. And in conjunction, you're working at the store, so you're also stressed about making sure these customers are getting the experience that you want to have, even though you have all these internal stresses going on in terms of, I know I owe this person money, or I know this, or I know I still owe money on this piece of equipment.
Right.
And you're thinking of all that, but meanwhile, you have to be in the moment, making sure, because your business is predicated on you want these people to come back. And so you have to kind of separate that and make sure you're having, this mindset of and so all of that takes its toll. And it's hard because, you stop doing all the things that you probably should be conscious of, which is, making sure you're eating well and hydrating, and all that kind of goes out the window because you're just so focused on surviving.
As I say, surviving, yes.
And you're just surviving. And then, like I said, we had our ribbon cutting March 9th of 2020, which was awesome. And I didn't even have a sign on the building yet at the St. Andrews store because I couldn't afford it. So I hadn't even had a sign yet. But we had a ribbon cutting, and I felt a lot of momentum. I think I felt the store was really about to really take off. And then 9 days later, which was on my birthday, ironically, on March 20th, I had to shut the dining room down for COVID. And that was a whole other set of stress and emotions because, they're basically telling everyone don't go to a restaurant. And that's not good for business. And so you have your one day kind of pity party where you're like, okay, I think this is maybe this wasn't meant to be. And then it's funny, it morphed. It wasn't even a day of pity party. I might have thought that for like an hour. And then it morphed to almost this defiance. Like, this is not how this story is going to end. I didn't come all this way to have this be the reason this ends. If this is going to fail, it's going to fail because I failed.
Right.
It's going to fail because my ideas didn't work. It's going to fail because I didn't execute what I wanted to execute. But there was no way I was going to let COVID be the end of this. And so I think, to be honest with you, I think because I was so new, and because I was still learning how to run a restaurant, and because I was learning how to do this, I think the quick adjustment I had to make for COVID didn't affect me as it would had I been doing this for 20 some odd years.
That's true.
Had I been doing this for 20 some odd years, I'd be so stuck in my ways of doing things. And because I wasn't stuck in my ways of doing things, because I was still learning, and because I was figuring stuff out every day, to then change our business model overnight to be a curbside and more of a curbside pickup.
Yeah.
that was relatively easy for me because I didn't know any different. You know, I was just like, well, this is the way it's going to go.
Right.
The funny story about that is I didn't have the money, but I paid for a sign because I needed something at St. Andrews to show we were open. And I didn't, like I said, it's this brand new center. There's no other business in there, and we didn't have a sign.
You're like, I'm here, I promise.
Yeah, so I paid for the sign from but then they couldn't get it permitted because the city had shut down.
Oh,
So I just spent money on a sign that I couldn't even get the sign.
oh
So
my gosh.
I ended up putting like a canopy tent out front in the parking lot with our logo, just because I wanted people who drove by to know something was going on there.
Yes.
We didn't have our website done. I was working very hard at getting the website done, but it wasn't ready. So all of our orders became phone orders. And the phone was such an afterthought to me. I didn't even think, but it became my lifeblood,
Yeah.
And so we just would take phone orders, and I would be inside, and I would make drinks, and I'd have a cook, and we'd have a girl out front, and we would just we'd have walkie-talkies, and when they show up, we would run the food out. And we did that for a couple months where it was exclusively just curbside pickup. And in the meantime, like I'd go home, I'd work all day and all night, and then I'd come home, and then I'd be working on the website because I knew I had to get online ordering going.
Yeah.
And so I was just obsessively working all the time. And meanwhile, as you're doing this, it's physically taking its toll on you.
Yeah, it is. You're
And not only emotionally, but
You're
physically, it started to take its toll.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and that was the key. And I told the staff, I said, we're going to come out of this. We're either going to go under, or we're going to come out of this better. And
yeah.
thank God we came out of it better. And it allowed me to try some things that I probably otherwise wouldn't have tried. We started doing some dinner specials and some burger specials, and we got really good at that. And so as I came out of COVID, the menu for the whole restaurant really changed. It really evolved because COVID forced me to do some things I otherwise wouldn't have done. And so the restaurant became more from a coffee, breakfast, brunch place to really a full-on restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that we also now just kind of do coffee. But it's really, most people come for the food.
Yeah.
And then we have the coffee. So the restaurant really evolved post-COVID because I had to go through that. So it's one of those lessons where it looks like the worst thing, the adversity looks like the worst thing possible. But if you kind of step back and look at it like, how can I get better from this?
There you go.
You can. You use it as it sounds cliche, but you really do. It forces you to get better. And I think I needed that. Like I said, I moved out here to really challenge myself, and I obviously COVID was a little more than I bargained for, but I think that was always the plan. I think I was supposed to be put in a position where it was, let's see what you're made of. And it put me in a position where I got to kind of see what I was made of. And that's ultimately why I did this. I came out to see what to do. And then, with all that being said, that's about me, but none of this works if the city and the town and the community that I live in, I live 2 miles away from our St. Andrews Center. So I live in the neighborhood that I'm servicing at this time. If those people don't show up, it doesn't work.
That's right.
And so we would have people show up every day that had no business having to show up every day, but they would because they just didn't want to see it go.
That's awesome.
And I'll never forget it. I'll just, as an aside, I'll tell a quick story. I had a regular customer of ours, Kyle, and Kyle came in, and I was in the kitchen, and he said, is Jason here? And they came back and said, the customer wants to talk to you. And normally you're like, oh man,
Okay.
that's never good. That's never good. So I'm like, oh, okay. But I come out there, and he's just like, hey, and keep in mind, this was just 3-4 months of us being there.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts telling me how him and his wife love it so much, and how they love coming there, and how much this place means to them. And he gives me a check for $500 just for support to help me get through it.
Wow.
And it's funny, at the time I said, Kyle, I can't take that, but I didn't want to insult him either, so I took it. And then I had to go take a walk. I walked out of the kitchen, and I kind of walked around the building, and that really hit me. And then that was kind of that moment where I was like, there's no way I'm going to fail at this. Okay. It was kind of, like I said, that defiance, like, you're going to have to kill me for this to fail, because that right there is one of those moves where you're tangibly seeing you're impacting people's lives, and everything you did this for is actually working.
Yeah.
And you see people who are coming there on an everyday basis, and it's becoming part of their life, and they're enjoying it, and that makes you just so like hell bent on making sure you're not going anywhere.
That's right. Right.
And so I actually, I'm sitting here in front of my computer. I have Kyle's check here taped to my desk. I never cashed it, but I have it here, and I look at it every day because I'll never forget that. And that's just that's a microcosm of a lot of stories like that, of people coming in, just encouraging words, and letting me go through the growing pains, and just being supportive. It's a feeling I can't really quantify, but it verified that I made the right decision doing this, and it made me feel like this is where I was supposed to be, and I'm happy I did it, because you start seeing you're really having an impact, and that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, when you start walking in your calling and you say yes to your calling, no matter what it is, you're going to impact. You're going to have other people walk into theirs as well, right? Whether it's a conversation like me and you're having, somebody listening to your story on this, or you running into somebody at the coffee shop and just seeing how you push through during those times. And one of the favorite things, I'm a woman of faith, so one of the favorite things, and I don't push that on people, but I love the verse where it says, what was meant for harm was turned out for our good. And COVID being something that people just buckled down on, but your perseverance kept you through that. And honestly, let's just be real. Starbucks closed down during that time, and
it did.
The store was open for people to try new coffee, right?
And that's why I think it's all. And I don't, I'm not a big fake guy per se, but I think that was part of it. And we looked at it, and we were very aware of that. We knew that Starbucks had shut down for 30 days, and to the credit of the girls who were working for me, and I was just blessed to have these amazing girls and guys working for me at the time, who just came in, and every single day we would try something new, and they would just roll with it, and they would roll with it with us. They show up, and they rolled with whatever changes I made, which was daily at that time. And I remember saying, like, listen, this is our opportunity to try to get some people here. Yeah. Because I firmly, a local coffee shop that gets their beans locally and sourced, the coffee is just going to inherently be a little bit better than Starbucks, right? Exactly. And so, Starbucks can't source from one source, so they get them from all over the place, and they overcook them to kind of give it a uniform taste. So Starbucks is great for convenience. It's great for what they do. But I knew if I could get people to come in and try what we have, they would get hooked, right? And so, and they would really like it. And they say, "Oh, okay, well, this place is here." And so we really knew that, and we really pushed trying to get people in there. And I mean, I didn't have the drive-through, but at that time, I kind of made it a drive-through. Like you would just take the orders, take the phone orders, and then luckily we're the St. Andrews store. If people have seen it, it's this weird location. It's this little business center, but it's right in the middle of the neighborhood. And there's nothing else around it. There's the St. Andrews gas station, then there's our little center. And so in the summertime, in April and May, when COVID hit, which was March, April, May, you just get people walking over, and they're riding their bikes over, and they'd get an iced coffee, and they would start realizing, and that's how we started building that up, is they started realizing this place is here, and that our stuff is really good. It is very good. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is you can work hard and market and get people there, but you better have a good product at the same time. And our coffee is really, really good. And our food is really, really good. So we were able to really get a lot of people through COVID, through that neighborhood, to really recognize us. And I think Starbucks closing certainly helped that. And we were very aware of that. So that's awesome. Like you said, it's kind of all part of the path, and you just kind of follow it. So it sure is. It's a crazy thing.
I love that about that you too, because like I always say, like, what is your motto if you have one in your life? And I think mine would be leave people better than you found them. Yeah. Because, life is hard enough. If we can speak joy and plant something in somebody's life just to make their day better, like you said, on a Monday morning, I mean, that's cost us 0 dimes to do that.
It does. And I think and I tell my staff this every day. You have to, when you're a kid, I work in a restaurant, and obviously when you work in a restaurant, it's hard work working in a restaurant. Absolutely. You're doing dishes, you're running food, you're constantly cleaning, you're cleaning up after people, you're dealing with some tough customers. This is a lot to it. But if you take a step back, you also have this ability to really impact people's lives. And people are coming there to get a coffee because that's a highlight of their day. They want to enjoy their cup of coffee in the morning, or they've been looking forward to coming and getting a meal. Or you have to be mindful of how their perspective is, and when it's their first time in. And like you said, it's so easy to just have a smile on your face. And if you see something that they're wearing that you like, or they do something, say it, mention it to them. And like you said, I want people, my whole business model is, I want people leaving that store happier than they were when they walked in.
That's right.
That's my only goal in all of it, is just to make sure that happens.
Well,
and so we really try hard to do that. And I think it's such a gift. I think it just reaffirms that I made the right decision to do this. I've never once, to be honest with you, I've never once thought of anything financial with this. It wasn't about money. This was about the process of doing it. And the money becomes a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And I think for people who want to do something, do it for that reason. Don't do it for money. Do it because you have a passion for what you're doing. And if you do that, the money follows.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, all these guys, Elon Musk and Bezos, those guys never thought about how much stock they were doing it because that was their calling, that was their passion. And I think to this day, I don't think about money. I think about the experience we're giving customers, and I'm thinking about making sure those two stores are as good as we can make them, and make them something special in the community, because I'll never forget the support that I got through COVID from the town of Murfreesboro. And so when I built the second one, it was more of like, I want to make this great, not just for me or for the staff, but I wanted to make it great for the city. I wanted to make something awesome that the town could enjoy, because this town, none of this works if the town doesn't support it. And the town supported it, and it's a feeling I'll never be able to really kind of quantify, but it means everything to me. So, but yeah, it's a gift. It's pretty awesome to be able to make people. When people come in for their birthdays, and it just kind of still blows me away. You know, we wanted to come here for our birthday and get mimosas, and you know, it still hits me. Like I get emotional just thinking about it, because I still am like, wow, man, I built a place that people want to come for their birthday, and they enjoyed that much. You know, that's such an awesome feeling. Like, I'm just so happy I did it.
Yeah, you did, and that's amazing. And I always close with this, as you know, the name of the podcast is Unstoppable. So I always ask my guests before they leave, Jason, what does it mean to be unstoppable for you?
I think kind of what we just alluded to. I think unstoppable would be find what you're passionate about, and don't let anyone tell you, because I had plenty of people thinking I was crazy. You're leaving this great job, this 6-figure job in California, living in San Diego, to go open a restaurant that has an overwhelming failure, you know, this and that. Unstoppable is ignoring that and doing it anyway, because you feel it's the right thing to do, and you feel it's your path, and you feel you could be good at it. And at the end of the day, unstoppable is betting on yourself. I
love that. You have to bet on yourself. You're your biggest billboard. You have to bet on yourself.
100%. That's what unstoppable is believing in yourself, betting on yourself, and not letting anyone stop you.
Absolutely love that. That is awesome. Well, Jason, I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for taking time to come out here and share your story with us. And we truly appreciate you being on.
It was my pleasure, Megan. Thank you so much for having me.
Unstoppable, unstoppable.